GPP Chin Music. I'm Jason Gilbo at JGilbo11, breaking down some stacking options and some bats today, doing a little combined pod. Jumping game by game here, we got a smaller 7-game slate, so I'll kind of break down each one that I'm looking at. Milwaukee, Pittsburgh here first. Garrett Cole, pitching at home. He's a little bit better at home, but he still struggles with lefties on the season. He's allowed to 243 ISO, 350 WOBA. Tough ballpark for power, but obviously we saw Travis Shaw go, bonkers yesterday. I like Shaw, I like Thames, I like VR if he's in the lineup. Those are intriguing options in a GPP standpoint. I won't be touching those guys in cash games. So one-offs here or there. It's a bad ballpark. I'm not expecting a ton of runs. Vegas isn't either, so I definitely don't mind that. On the Pirates side, I obviously got Starling Marte back. He had leadoff. Pirates offense, on a 7-game slate, there's no cores. Obviously, there's not too many great ballparks. I think there's about 3 that I'm really, intrigued with. I'm much more inclined to take the weaker side here in terms of picking on Zach Davis and use some Pirates bats for one-offs. I like McCutchen, I like Harrison, I don't mind Marte. Gregory Polanco, Josh Beller, always intriguing plays as well. You look at Davies, he struggles against both sides of the plate, mainly lefties, 360 WOBA, 226 ISO, 347 WOBA to righties, though. He's a low strikeout guy. Pirates moderate team total here tonight, so I think if you're targeting anyone in this game more than a lineup or two, it's probably more on the Pirates side. Texas, Baltimore, this has been an absolute letdown for the Texas offense. I was figuring we get more out of them here. I'm willing to go back to the well here, and if you're not, that's fine. But Kevin Gausman has been absolutely awful this year. Yes, he's thrown a couple of good starts, maybe over his last 6, but he's also had a couple of blowups as well. 378 WOBA to righties, 383 WOBA to right-handers. This is a lineup, once again, all in play 1 through 9. Chu, Mazzara, Adore, Gallo are all guys to take a look at. Outside of Chu, they'll have over 200 ISO against righties. Andrus, he's hit right-handers pretty well this year, 346 WOBA, 161 ISO. Napoli, 232 ISO. Carlos Gomez, 355 WOBA, 235 ISO. I like Texas here. They're in play. Good numbers for me. Across the board, once again, really good ballpark. I'm okay with stacking them. I'm okay with them as one-offs. They're on the cheaper side as well. So I'm fine kind of going that route again, even with the kind of recent stretch that they've had. Baltimore, Martin Perez pitching. This guy I don't really like to stack against because his ground ball rate's pretty high. And it's fine against a right-handed heavy lineup. I think one-offs here is about where you're going to be headed. Wellington Castillo behind the dish, I'm certainly fine with. Outside of that, though, Jonathan Scope's an intriguing guy. Adam Jones, I don't hate. But Manny Machado, I think Jonathan Scope and Wellington Castillo are the 3 that are my favorite from Baltimore here tonight. You can make the case for Trumbo, obviously, and Jones as well, but I think those 3 are kind of where I'm headed with their numbers against lefties this year and just years prior. So Martin Perez, 356 WOBA to righties, 30% line drive rate allowed. So some of those Baltimore bats are certainly in play, and Vegas is liking them quite a bit. Moving over, St. Louis and New York, I'm not really looking to attack DeGrom on this slate. But on the other side, once again, Mike Leake is just this boring right here. Doesn't miss a lot of bats, especially against lefties. He's kind of good at keeping the ball on the ground, 61%. I don't know how much I'll be looking to stack the Mets. Probably not at all. I don't know how much I'll be looking to get exposure to him. But you can always make the case for Jay Bruce, Michael Conforto, Lucas Duda against righties, and Leake does have some career struggles with lefties and not really allowing the long ball, but this is a team that still can somewhat get to him. But Conforto, 388 WOBA, 274 ISO against righties this year. Jay Bruce, 391 WOBA, 291 ISO. Lucas Duda, 373, 284. These are guys that I'm really targeting. I'm not really looking at guys like Asdrubal Cabrera or Yoenis Cespedes tonight. So I think those 3 lefties are kind of where I'm headed. Toronto, Boston. This is a game that's just been, or a series that's just been kind of I don't love it. We've seen Aaron Sanchez, obviously been injured for most of the year. We've seen a little bit of rough up by right-handers. You can always use Mookie Betts. I think he's a standout option. Outside of that, though, I don't know if I'm really in love with anyone else from the Red Sox. The good thing is, I mean, you're going to look at some of these guys. Sanchez is throwing that fastball quite a bit. You get some of these guys that do handle fastballs quite well. Dustin Pedroia is one of them. Hanley's one of them. JBJ I don't mind as well. But that's about it. He's a little bit tougher on lefties. We've seen the higher strikeout rate against lefties. It's one of those boomer bust ones. I think Boston's a team I'm just going to be kind of staying away from tonight, and people are going to go there for ownership just because they have the name value. That's about it. But on Toronto side, I mean, the two first basemen are intriguing. Smoke has crushed lefties this year, 4.47 WOBA, 253 ISO. Morales has as well, 397, 220 ISO. Talked about on the pitching pod, Pomeranz being an option tonight. And I talked about the two guys that I'm worried about, and those are Smoke and Morales. So prefer Smoke a little bit more. I showed a little bit more upside, a little bit more consistency. He also only has 11% strikeout rate compared to 22 for Morales. Donaldson obviously in play against a lefty. I don't know if he's quite healthy. I think he's one of those guys where you can still take shots with, but limited exposure. I like Donaldson, but once again, I mean, he's just kind of looked like he's been struggling at the plate here. Arizona, Cincinnati, this is one where you're going to be looking at, if you missed the news last night, JD Martinez going to Arizona. That's a huge, huge bat and an already really good lineup. So, I mean, AJ Pollock, David Peralta, Paul Goldschmidt, Jake Lamb, and then we're going to get JD Martinez in there. And the good thing about, Arizona's really struggled against lefties. I'm not quite sure why. But JD Martinez, big lefty bat. Obviously, they're playing Edelman tonight. He's pretty neutral against both sides, pretty equal, 354 WOBA to lefties, 350 WOBA to righties, over 200 ISO against both sides. This is once again, I think even with the double-digit run outburst last night, this is one to go back to the well with. Chris Herman, Dan Descalso would be cheap options, but, Lamb, Goldie, Peralta, Pollock, those are all that you're looking at tonight, so. Moving on here, Cincinnati, I don't particularly like. I'm not going to be picking on Greinke. You can always make the case for Votto. Maybe Schebler, Jeanette. I don't mind those guys against lefties or against Greinke in a GPP if you're building multiple lineup, but it's not my first choice tonight. Dodgers, White Sox. You look on the White Sox side, I mean, Maya is probably good enough to kind of keep me away from these guys. Yohan Moncada's up in the lineup tonight after the Todd Frazier trade. This is a bad lineup. This is just awful. It's going to be bad for the rest of the year, so I'm not really looking at anyone here. The strikeout rate from these right-handed bats is about 28%. I'm more inclined to go on the Dodgers side. You look at Rodon. This guy's been kind of boomer bust in his career, around a 340 WOBA to righties, but he does have some really good strikeout stuff. I think he's going to be a solid pitcher, but you can still make a case for these Dodgers bats. Logan Forsythe, 455 WOBA, 228 ISO. Justin Turner, 560 WOBA, 418 ISO. Chris Taylor, 449 WOBA, 227 ISO. Austin Barnes, 380 WOBA, 281 ISO. Kike Hernandez, 366 WOBA, 341 ISO. The Dodgers team, it's not that pushover against lefties, even though we saw earlier this year kind of struggle. Forsythe's gotten going. Chris Taylor's popped up. Austin Barnes has come out. Kike Hernandez is always that platoon bat. So Justin Turner's mashing lefties. And even Bellinger and Seager, I mean, over 200 ISO against lefties, near 400 WOBA as well. So it's just an incredibly tough team that I just like to stay away from for pitchers. So I'm looking to stack up the Dodgers here. That bullpen took a hit, obviously, last night with Robertson. This is still pretty much a pedestrian team all around. So I think 1 through 8, you can look to stack the Dodgers tonight and look to kind of plug away anywhere you can find, that pricing. So if I had to pick, Justin Turner, obviously my favorite option out of this one, but I like Austin Barnes a lot at a catcher position tonight too. So. Move forward, getting into the poor ballparks, Detroit and Kansas City. Jason Hamill, fly ball pitcher, struggled more against righties this year, 356 WOBA. Justin Upton, Miguel Cabrera, Nick Castellanos are guys you can look at. I like Alex Avila once again, Ian Kinsler. 7-game slate, I'm more inclined to taking Tigers tonight, I think, just because, there's a lack of options elsewhere. Bad ballpark, but it's a really hot night. You look at Hamill. This is a guy they've seen quite a bit of. Really struggles with righties. Team totals up there quite a bit, around 5. So I'm okay with taking some Detroit bats for the ones that I mentioned. On the other side, Justin Verlander, not really looking to pick on him a whole lot. He's been pretty average this year. Jorge Bonifacio, Moustakas, Salvador Perez, some of the bigger ISO guys are ones that I'll be looking at. I'm not really looking to take on Mitt Warfield or Eric Hosmer or Lorenzo Cain here tonight with just the lack of power that they have. So stick with the bigger bats. Last game of the night, you had Washington and Los Angeles. Gio Gonzalez taking on Alex Meyer. Meyer's a guy who struggles with lefties, 346 WOBA allowed this year. Can't miss some bats, but does struggle with lefties. So obviously Bryce Harper, Daniel Murphy pop up. If you get Adam Lind in the lineup, you get Brian Goodwin, Steven Drew. Those are all terrific plays in terms of value sense as well. Even though the ballpark sucks for hitters, I still don't mind it. The lefties on a smaller slate are in play for me. Brian Zimmerman, a little bit tougher matchup. Meyer's been pretty good against righties. On the Angels side, Gio Gonzalez, usually it's a guy that I don't mind picking out at times. I just don't see anyone that I'm really in love with in this Angels lineup, so I'll be staying away, especially with Gonzalez's recent stretch. So that's going to wrap it up. You can head over to DailyFantasyCafe.com to go to rate tools and content.